Welcome back to the Max Reality. If you've seen my face before, then you know the drill, but if you're new here, my name's Morgan, and I love talking all things reality TV, and today we are talking about Season 15, Episode 11 of Shark Tank. Before we can talk about the new Shark Tank, though, I gotta take you back in time to last season. Season 14, and the company Stealth Bros & Co. Stealth Bros & Co. is one of my favorite pitches from last year. If you don't believe me, you can go check out my Wrapped video for Season 14 and see for yourself how much I loved them. The business was started by Braxton, who's a trans man, and was looking for a way to store his vials and needles more organized, and so he came up with these great little dop kits. I'll put some pictures up for you to see as a way to organize your stuff on the go or even at home, and I immediately loved this. I don't take testosterone, but back in the day, I used to do allergy shots, and let me tell you, trying to keep that stuff organized, especially on a trip, but even just at home, was a nightmare, and I wish I would have had some bags like this. It would have changed my entire life. I literally just had like a drawer of stuff that was, I hate thinking about it. It always made taking my shots horrible because I would look at this terrible drawer and just, I don't want to go back there, honestly. I don't need to go back there. I'm done taking those. That's past me now. But the bags don't have to even be used for medical purposes. They're great for all sorts of things with all their little pockets and all that. The little junior dop kits, perfect to put all your essentials in, put it in your purse, and that way when you need something out of it, you got it. And lucky for me, they reached out to me asking me if I would like a code to give all you a discount on all their wonderful products. So if you would like to support me and support a Black trans-owned business, use my code SBCMAX20 to get 20% off your purchase and, support your girl, Woo! Seriously though, I can't thank Stealth Bros & Co. enough for reaching out. They're like the perfect company for me to have my first sort of sponsorship deal with. I was so excited when they reached out, and I'm so happy to be working with them. And now, let's get into the newest episode of Shark Tank, shall we? Our sharks for the episode are Barbara, Kevin, Lori, Mark, and Robert, once again giving us another classic tank. Our first pitch of the night is Poplight. Entrepreneurs Caroline and Rose walked into the tank looking for $150,000 for 8% of their renter-friendly LED wall light. Here's what it looks like. So how it works is there's a base with adhesive strips and a level to help you make sure you have it right on the wall. You stick it on the wall, and then the lamp clicks into place, and then voila, you have a battery-powered lamp. Talking about lights so much made me realize my lights, I was looking at the camera, I was like, my lights do not look right. I've had the wrong set of lighting on this entire time that I've been filming. The entire time. I was just looking at myself like, why do I look like that? We gotta fix this. There we go. I personally think that looks a lot better. If you thought the beginning lighting was better though, do let me know in the comments. Anyway, back to the lights we're supposed to be talking about. So far, the product is only a prototype. That's what they've given to all their sharks, their first tooling prototypes. But they do have one design patent and 2 pending technology patents. The technology patents, one of them is for the way it swivels and clicks and removes from the wall, and the other is for the way the tape attaches to the base that helps it not damage the wall when you remove it. Even though it's a prototype, they do already know how much they're going to be selling it for. They're going to retail it for $95, and it costs them $20 to make and $30 landed. Since it's a prototype, they obviously don't have sales yet, but they did launch a Kickstarter in 2023 and did over $178,000 in a little under 4 weeks. They launched the Kickstarter at 6 a.m. and met their goal in about 22 minutes, which, that seems wild to me. 6 a.m. is so early for people to be like on Kickstarter doing that, so good for them. At the time of filming, they had also just started their website, and they'd only done $5,000 of sales on it, but, it just started, and also, they haven't shipped anything out yet. They say one of their biggest problems at the current moment is being able to get the inventory needed to fulfill all of these orders, because they're already slated to run out of the product they have coming that's needed to fill the Kickstarter, so they need a shark to help them with that. So the first thing Mark points out is that it's kind of expensive, and they say that they've run a bunch of tests with their consumers, and that people were more responsive to the item being priced higher and offered a bigger discount. I don't know what they meant by this. This was never really clarified. Because I mean, it's not like they're on sale even on their website right now. Because that was the first thing I thought. I thought when I went to their website, I'd see the whole $95 crossed out and then some sale price. So I don't know what this meant. If you understand this sentence, please let me know. Because there's just... Anyway, Robert, on the other hand, disagrees that it's expensive. He thinks the price point is great. Let me know what you think about that as well. And the next point, I think, is one of the most important questions when it comes to a product like this. How long does the battery last? And they say it takes 4 hours for the battery to fully charge, and then it lasts between 5 to 9 hours. Now, I understand one of the big discrepancies for 5 to 9, because it feels like a very big range of time. It's going to be based on how dim you have it or how bright you have it. But just thinking to myself that you could only get 5 hours off of a product that takes 4 hours to charge, that seems... We're getting ahead of myself. I'm getting into final thoughts. Anyway, so that's the battery life. If you don't want to have to keep charging this battery pack, they do point out that you can keep it plugged in all the time if you want. There's a way to have the cord hanging down and you can plug it into the wall, which in my personal opinion defeats the purpose a little bit, but to each their own. Like, isn't it just a lamp at that point? Like a normal lamp? I don't know. That's just me. Anyway. And finally, Lori has somewhat redeemed herself in my eyes for her "Are you the only reading game?" question from a couple episodes back. If you watch my videos often, you know this has been something that I've been holding on to, and I probably should let it go for, my own personal mental health, but whatever. Tonight, though, Lori has given me a little hope in her again. She asks them if there are more lights similar to them aside from the Poplights that everybody knows. You probably know what I'm talking about. People have them in their cabinets a lot. I'll put a photo up in case you don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, just snaps for Lori for knowing that a product exists and not asking a question that would make me go, because Poplights would probably set me off as much as reading games did, honestly. And they say that no, this is a completely new invention. The whole reason they made it is because they were looking for something like it and said they couldn't find anything like it. Then Kevin decides he wants to make an offer. And they have this cute moment. I don't think I said this already, but they're married. There was just this adorable little moment. I'm going to play it.
But I'll make you an offer.
Kevin says that the deal is very nascent and a total crapshoot, but he decides to make an offer of $150,000 for 8% with a $2 royalty until he gets paid back $500,000, and then after that, it drops to $1 in perpetuity.
We thought you'd throw in a royalty.
Of course I would.
Shocking, right? Just shocking.
It's actually a really good deal.
You know what?
That's not his worst deal ever, trust me.
I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, I had never heard the word nascent. I don't think in my entire life, or if I did, I just ignored it and never learned what it meant. But since I didn't know, in case you don't know, I looked it up. Pretty much it just means a really, really new business that hasn't really actually begun yet, aka them. They're pre-shipping anything out. They're at that precipice before they're like really a business. Like they're a business, but a business, if that makes sense. Barbara then decides she wants to make an offer too, but she doesn't want any equity. She just wants to do $150,000 with a $20 royalty.
$20?
Everyone is shocked. They are stunned. They are flabbergasted. And Robert asks the first thought that came into my head.
I don't think they make enough money,
No,
Barb.
I think they do make enough money.
Which, like, if we're going to be super duper literal, yes, they can afford it. But taking on a $20 royalty when you haven't even really had, like, a full year of sales, of doing anything, you haven't even shipped the product out, and you're going to start taking $20 just to meet. Incredible. Just shocking. And truly, it feels like Freaky Friday has just happened in the tank, because Kevin is giving this just normal, reasonable offer, and then Barbara is saying things that make me worried about her health. Like, are you here with us? Like, what? $20? But you haven't even heard the best part yet. we haven't even asked her how long this royalty is going to last. How long do you think it's going to last? Take a moment to make your little guess.
When does that end, Barbara?
Never ending.
It's
That's
in
the best
perpetuity.
part. Never,
Wow.
ever ending.
A completely unhinged Barbara moment. I don't know if we've seen anything like this from her. I was honestly worried. I thought Kevin must have taken over her body. I just don't know what was happening with Barbara this episode, honestly. Our remaining sharks who haven't made an offer yet decide to jump in to clear the deck a little. Robert says that he thinks it's great and that they'll figure it out, but he thinks Kevin's made them a good offer and they should just take it.
Barbara's offer is absolutely nuts. I don't know what she's doing.
Lori says she's really worried about their competition, and they take the moment to try to say what differentiates their light from other stick-on-wall lights. Number one, they talk about how the stick part is hidden, and on other lights, if it is hidden, the way you're having to rip it off the wall is going to end up damaging your wall, unlike theirs does, but that's not enough to convince Lori to make an offer. Then we have Mark, who says that what they just talked about with the sticking aspect is really the risk of their business, because if they really are the only one who can do that and they can protect it, they'll succeed and this will be 100% fantastic, but he's not confident in that. So he's out. Now that they're down to just Kevin and Barbara's offer, they decide it's time to try some countering. They first start with Barbara, seeing if she'll go from a $20 royalty to a $12 royalty. She says she'll do it only if they do $100,000 as cash and then $50,000 as a line of credit instead of just the $150,000 and a $12 royalty. Better, I guess, but also, is it better? After that lovely little talk with Barbara, they decide maybe they should try countering Kevin, and they ask him if he would consider lowering the $2 royalty payback amount from $500,000 to $350,000, but Kevin says no. He realizes he is the only sane offer in the tank right now.
What would you consider?
What the offer I gave you. I think it's very fair. I like it a lot.
And they end up making the deal with Kevin for $150,000 for 8% with a $2 royalty until he's paid back $500,000. Then it drops to a $1 royalty in perpetuity. Kevin loves the long, complicated deals, I swear.
With you.
What? I have no clue how Barbara was shocked. Part of me wants to think that she was kidding, that she was shocked that they took Kevin's deal. Obviously, they took Kevin's offer. Barbara, what? I have so many. I wish I could just. I'd be like, what were you I do not understand. And she defended it so many times when, like, Robert and Mark and them were being like, what? She's like, no, it's a fair offer. I swear, Barbara was on one. Final thoughts. I'll start off with, I really do like the level. Always love something like that. That's super handy. That's smart. That's a great idea. The thing I hate that I talked about a bunch already is the battery. Now, you can buy multiple battery packs, so you could always have one charging and then flip them out, but that just, again, it just seems like a lot of time to be flipping the batteries out, especially as somebody who doesn't believe in overhead lighting. The majority of the lighting I use in my house is lamps, and so I can't imagine having to change it out every day almost, because I feel like that's how often I would end up having to change it out. Personally, like, I know there are other things like that, like your phone, you gotta charge it every day, whatever. I don't need another thing I have to keep up with and charge, especially not a lamp. Like, that's just me. As always, I was looking around on the internet trying to see what I could find. I don't think I'm gonna find anything as fun as Fishwife, at least not during season. That was probably the most fun, weird stuff I've found on an in-season product. It usually comes out later, so, but fingers crossed, I'm always digging.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad! You keep digging!
And I found a Reddit thread for apartment owners, and the Poplight people had made a post asking for feedback, ideas, all of that sort of stuff. And my favorite thing I found was somebody commenting, saying something like, maybe you should do some more research. The name Poplight is trademarked. And they had to comment back being like, yes, by me. I just thought that was so funny. That made me laugh for like a solid 2 minutes longer than it should have made me laugh, honestly. I think what would be really interesting is to come back to this once they actually start shipping out. They say they're not shipping out till spring of 2024. There's not really a hard date yet, but I'm definitely going to be on the lookout to see people's reviews once they actually have them, because that'll be when people really say what they like about them, what they don't like, if the battery really lasts as long as they say, because I'm really interested in that. As y'all know, because I keep bringing it up, the battery. That's what your girl worries about. So yeah, I'm going to try to keep my eye on this one. Y'all keep an eye on it too. We'll circle back around if anything interesting happens once people actually have them in their hand and in their homes. Our second pitch of the night is the Duo Umbrella. Nathaniel walked into the tank looking for $100,000 for 10% equity of his umbrella built for two. Here it is, and how it works is it's extra wide to make room for both people, and it has a second handle that comes out from the bottom, giving that other person a little more control over the umbrella experience. And guys, this is the second product of the night in a row that is just a prototype, which I just think is so wild. I just had to point it out. There are two versions of this prototype, and like the one before it, he already has the pricing. There's a compact umbrella. It's going to retail for $25, wholesale for $10, and it costs them $4 to make. Then there's the stick umbrella. That was the one in the video. It retails for $50, wholesales for $20, and it costs them $8 to make. But little spoiler alert, it actually is pre-selling right now for $55. So close. I mean, I'm just trying to get the facts straight. And before we can get into anything, the sharks say, we obviously have to talk about the elephant in the room. Nathaniel is a child. Nathaniel is 15, and he applied for and received his first utility patent for this product when he was 9 years old. He got invited to the Henry Ford Museum to compete in the National Invention Convention. Try saying that a bunch of times. I couldn't even barely type it. And he won most original product out of 144,000 participants. Did hearing all these things about him make me think about my life and age? No, not at all. Nope, didn't faze me. Why did you ask? Weird. So the first point of conversation is obviously the fact that he is pre-revenue since this is a prototype, and Nathaniel, before they can even ask about his valuation, is ready to defend it. He jumps right on it and says there are three main points that justify the $1 million valuation that he's given. Number one, their IP. They have one utility patent granted for the idea of the two handles, and they have a second patent pending for the locking mechanism inside the other handle. After he gets done with that first point, Mark asks him about how old he is, and we start getting some of his backstory, which completely derails it. So we don't learn what his other two reasons are to justify his valuation, and I personally, as a viewer, want to know. Next, Barbara wants to know how he got it from the original idea to where it is today, and we learn that Nathaniel has partnered up with the #1 U.S. market leader for everything umbrellas. That is a direct quote. Shed Rain. I don't know anything about Shed Rain, so we're just trusting Nathaniel on this one. And how their deal worked out is Shed Rain owns 49% of the company, and instead of giving them money in exchange for the equity, they've made an agreement that they're going to do the manufacturing, the distribution, they help make the prototypes, all of this stuff, they're funding it. Seems like a dream deal to me personally. The next obvious question is, how did this deal come about? And we find out that Nathaniel just cold called them, which Mark loves these stories. Mark lives for these stories. That is what fuels him and keeps him hanging on at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Wow.
And in the
On your
beginning,
own.
yes,
You just
on
picked
my
up the
own.
phone and called.
So then Robert asks who exactly is going to be doing all this, because again, Nathaniel is 15, and even though Nathaniel just lined out everything that his partner Shed Rain is going to do for them, Robert still has this moment.
I know you have this partner. It's not clear what they're going to do, you're going to do. You'll figure that out.
So then Nathaniel and Barbara kind of together re-explain what his agreement with Shed Rain is with the distribution and doing all of those things, which I thought was so funny. He literally just explained who is going to be doing those sort of things. And maybe Robert meant more of like the marketing or business side, but it just wasn't clear, and it seems so funny, especially him being like, your partner, like, whatever y'all are going to do. Like, were you not just listening? I'm going on a rant. Barbara says he really doesn't need a shark. He's already made a great deal with Shed Rain, and she thinks that's all he really needs. So she goes out. I feel like this is an ad for Shed Rain. The amount of times I've had to say it, and also I just my brain doesn't want to say it for some reason. I just can't. Then Kevin also goes out with a classic Kevin style line.
But I have a basic rule. I have to be able to call my CEO 24 hours a day. I don't like the fact you're in school. What's your teacher going to say when I call your cell and you're in school in the class? They're not going to let you answer. And that really pisses me off. So for that reason, I'm out.
Mark says that Nathaniel's a great example for all the young entrepreneurs out there, but he doesn't want Nathaniel's equity share to get diluted under 50%, which would happen if Mark ended up making any deal, even just the 10%. And for those reasons, he goes out. Then we have Robert, who says all the sharks have made really good points, but he really likes deals where he can see the potential exit. And with this one, it's pretty obvious that one day Shed Rain will end up probably just buying Nathaniel out. And also, of course, Robert says that there are ways he can definitely help tweak things and all that. But really, Robert just wants to get on in this deal for the money. And before Robert can even make his offer, Nathaniel says this line that's just so pure. I have to put it in here because I died.
All that.
Thank you, Robert.
That's my
And then
offer.
you'd be getting in on the ground floor, too.
Robert offers Nathaniel $100,000 for 20%. Then Lori chimes in to just clear the shark tank, and she pretty much just reiterates exactly what Barbara said about him not needing a shark. He already has a shark with Shed Rain. Then Nathaniel very politely asks if he can counter Robert. I love Nathaniel. He seems like just such a sweet kid. And he counters him 15% instead of 20%. Robert says, I'll do it for 18%, and they end up making a deal for $100,000 for 18% equity. My final thoughts, I truly and deeply do not know why he wanted a shark. I am 100% on Lori, Barbara, and to some extent Mark's team, because his thing was he didn't want to dilute him under 50%, which is a similar vibe to what they said. Part of me wonders if maybe his thought process is that he plans to continue being an entrepreneur and coming up with new ideas. Again, he's only 15. Not to say you can't come up with new ideas at any age. I'm just saying. And he knows this is the idea that can help him make connections with people like Mark, with these sharks. And that way, when he's ready to, move on from this with new ideas, he has this connection with Robert, which honestly, if that was the game plan, very smart. I like it. Also, wild to me that he was pitching alone. It is super rare that we see a kid pitch without their parent. It has happened. I know at least one time before. It was season 11. It was Wise Pocket Socks, and she was 13. Very wild. It made me kind of anxious having him out there all by himself. He did a great job. But just I worried. As for the product itself, I mean, it's a good idea. I definitely get it. I think it would work. I'm not the kind of person who's going to pay $55 for an umbrella because I'm probably going to lose it. I love a good, $5 Walgreens umbrella. But I see it. I could see people who are maybe live in even rainier states. I don't know. I see it. I see the vision. I think it is a good idea. I just personally probably wouldn't be a customer, but I get it. Our third pitch of the night is Table Tyke. Berlin walked into the tank looking for $100,000 for 10% equity of her new take on a silicone food mat. Here it is. One of her main selling points about it is the bumper on the edge that prevents your baby from hitting their head or chewing on the edge of their table. It also has raised edges that help prevent spills from going everywhere. And lastly, it has little loops on the end, so that way when you're traveling, you can just dust it off, roll it up, and put it in your bag. So she sells these in 2 different sizes. She's the one that's kind of intended for babies to use as a placemat. Then there's an XL or adult size one that she suggests using for things like crafting or baking. And the baby size one retails for $24.99 and costs them $4.90 to make. She mostly sells this direct to customer and on Amazon. She even has an Amazon consultant. I did not know that was a thing until this episode. She also just recently started in retail less than a year ago actually, and she's in 80 boutiques. She says she likes the boutiques better because it makes her profit margin better, which I thought was funny. We get one of our fun little sales ramps that we were missing from the last 2 since they were prototypes. She started this business at the end of 2020 and she did $10,000 in sales. 2021, it was $24,000. 2022, they did just under $100,000. And that year in 2023, they were projected to do $200,000. However, we don't know if they're profitable. She didn't say. Sorry. We did get a real, alive, running business, but we didn't get every single piece of information. This one was close though. This was close to giving us everything. So she talks about how most of her sales and growth have been through word of mouth, and Mark asks her why the word of mouth isn't spreading faster, and she tells us that over 60% of her sales from 2022 were at the end of quarter 4, and that just so happens to be when she started using TikTok. This is a story we are hearing time and time again on Shark Tank lately. I feel like it's at least one an episode at this point. Robert thinks that the product is really great, but he's worried about the sustainability of the business. He's worried this thing is just like a one-hit wonder product and not an actual scalable business. She says she also has that concern, and then she decides to try to just pivot and talk about that with other placemats. They're not used for very long. A lot of them have short lifespans, but the good thing about hers is that it's super durable and people are willing to pay $25 because they know it'll last.
But that's not good if I buy it once and it stays with the child.
And these are the moments in Shark Tank that just get me so annoyed because, like, I get it. Like, it's the capitalistic thing. You want products that people want to buy over and over and over again, that they need to keep consuming. They got to keep you. I get it. But it's like, just take a minute to hear yourself. Like, what do you mean it's not a good thing that this is a product that can last for years? What on earth are you saying? Like, it's whatever. I get it, but it annoys me. So then she says what she really needs that would help her just grow her business is a PR team, someone who could help get her in places like BuzzFeed.
You need to do it yourself.
Viral.
You need to.
I'm trying, but I will tell you.
I know they don't, act. These aren't filmed exactly in order, blah, 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 blah. But in my mind, I like to pretend that Mark is still riding on the high of Nathaniel cold calling Shed Rain. I've said that so many times. He's just riding on that high, though. He's like, you call him. You can do it. Anyone could do it. Nathaniel did it. He's 15. She says that she's been trying, but having a PR team means your emails automatically get read. Robert points out that doesn't automatically mean you're going to have those sales, though. Even if they do read your email, even if you do get the article, that doesn't automatically mean you're going to get a sale from every single person who sees this tweet, this article, whatever. Like, it doesn't even mean you'll get any necessarily. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to do, but it's a gamble kind of, Then, for the second time in a row, he just did it last episode, and he does it again. Kevin decides to go out because he doesn't have a baby. I just think it's so funny to have that happen back to back. Him just be like, no baby, no deal. Mark says he gives her a lot of credit for what she's done so far, but this is just a product that's not in his wheelhouse, and for those reasons, he's out. Then Lori decides to give us a little spin on her famous, "It's a good business for you" line, and changes it up a little by saying, sometimes it's not good to bring an investor in. You just need to keep doing what you're doing and make a great living for you. Barbara feels like she doesn't really have room for a shark in her business yet, but encourages her to keep just doing the social media thing since it seems to be working so far. Lastly, there's Robert, who says that after 15 years, he just really wants to invest in bigger things. He doesn't see this being one of those companies that gives him a really big return on his investment or scales up to $1 trillion bajillion dollars. So he's out. And unfortunately, our first fully developed product of the night leaves the tank without a deal. So the first obvious big thing in the room, there are other silicone placemats out there. In fact, this is the third one to be on Shark Tank recently. When she came out with this placemat, I was like, I swear, we have already seen this so many times. And at first I thought I might just be losing it. But then I was on the internet, like I like to do, searching around, and every other person too was like, stop giving us baby placemats, anything else. It's just so funny. There have been so many versions of them lately. The other two that have been on Shark Tank are Busy Baby and Easy Peasy. Busy Baby has little toys attached to it, and then the Easy Peasy is like your bowls and plates already attached to the placemat. They're also all similar prices, which I thought was interesting. They're also similar sizes, so it's just a battle of what you need your silicone baby mat to do, I guess. And so, like, on that same note, there are also other adult, just silicone, like, crafting type mats out there. So again, this isn't like a new invention. I'd say the biggest thing that sets her apart is that bumper for the edge of the table, which is great for kids, but I don't really see a scenario where I would need it as an adult. And then also the little loops. That is nice, being able to roll it up, take it with you, especially for the kids part at restaurants, but even just as a storage thing. I like the loops, and I didn't really see a lot of that on any of the other mats out there that I was looking around at. And last off, I just have to talk about the reason Robert went out, because I hear him, I get what he's saying, but there was, when I was, again, on the internet, there was somebody on Reddit who literally, I could not say it better. Their post was exactly what I thought when I heard Robert say that, so I'm literally just going to read it or put it on the screen and you can read it yourself. Here we go. Robert's comments about this company not being big enough for him to make more than $1 million or $2 million made me think it's time for some new sharks, if not time to replace them all. It'd be hard to do because the reason people watch, at least partially, because they enjoy the interaction between the sharks. I would miss most of them. However, I do not doubt that after more than a decade, all of them being on the show, it must become more and more of a considered choice to add anything else to their portfolio. Sharks who haven't had the opportunity would be willing to give some of these smaller entrepreneurs a chance. I'm not saying this lady deserved a deal, but I think in general they are much less willing to bet on a smaller business these days, and at least partially that used to be kind of the point of Shark Tank. You shouldn't already have to be a multimillionaire in order for someone to invest in your business. And truly and deeply, I couldn't say it any better than that. That was exactly my thoughts, and that's my final thought for Table Tykes. Our fourth and final pitch of the night is Like Air. Kevin, Allison, and Steve walked into the tank looking for $300,000 for 3.5% of their healthy corn puff snack. Here it is. It comes in 4 different flavors: classic, white cheddar, cinnamon bun, and pancake. It's gluten-free. It's also free of the top 8 major allergens, and it's only 50 calories per cup. While they were in the tank, they said their 4-ounce bag retailed for $3.99, wholesaled for $2.50, and it cost them 88 cents to make. But when you go on their website, it's closer to $6.25 a bag. That's before shipping. It's 4 for $24.99. They're currently on sale for $19.99. At my Kroger personally, it's $4.69 a bag, but they're currently also on sale for $3.79. So probably more information than you even wanted to know, but that's what I'm here for. So we get another fun little sales ramp, but before I tell you it, I want you to take a moment to guess if you think this is a profitable company or not, because I'm going to spoil it while I'm saying the sales. Okay, ready? You got it. In 2020, they did $100,000. In 2021, they did $2.5 million and broke even. In 2022, they did $5 million, but they lost $190,000. And in 2023, they were planning to do over $10 million, but burning $1 million. They tell us that they just finished investing in machines so they can make this product on their own, which tells us that a lot of money has been put into this. So the sharks ask if they've been raising money and how much. In 2019, they raised $800,000, and then they had just recently done a seed round and raised $3.5 million at a $23.5 million valuation. Wild. This is puffcorn. Incredible. Lori then asked the question that I think everybody is thinking.
So I'm curious, if you just raised all this money, what do you need from a shark?
And they say what they really need is the partnership. And Mark's face to them saying that killed me. That man cannot hide what he's thinking. Is so funny.
What are your sales?
2020.
And Mark is wondering, at the end of the day, where did all this money go? And he assumes it's probably the machines, but they say it's also salaries, inventory, distribution, and trade spend. And what a fun episode this is where we're learning so much, because I had no idea what this word meant, and so I'm going to tell you. I read a couple different definitions online, and I think this is the one that's the most clear. It says trade spending is a common practice among consumer packaged goods and retail companies. Essentially, trade spend is the amount a company spends to increase demand for its product, including coupons, preferential shelf display locations, and co-advertising, to name a few. While they are talking about sales and they say that they're going to burn $1 million, Barbara has the exact same reaction I did.
It's a wrong answer.
But Mark disagrees. He says it just says a lot about their goals, and obviously their goals are to grow and blow this up as quickly as possible. And while again, I understand 100% what he's saying, logically, I understand the words he's saying. Do you hear yourself? It's $1 million. I just burned $1 million. And they start talking about Jeff Bezos losing money every year, and that's probably a different time. That's probably a topic for a different time. Probably too big for this Shark Tank recap video. And they say that's part of why they're here. They need help with growing this quickly. But both Mark and Barbara immediately say that they don't need a shark's help. Mark points out that at this point where they are in the company, their sales are going to speak for themselves for whether or not grocery stores are going to pick them up and all of that. And after he says that, Mark delivers the most brutal line of the episode.
So, is this just a commercial for you guys?
They then tell us what they really need help with is getting grocery stores to put them in promotional areas, because apparently 70% of snacks are sold there. I did not know that. They say the entire time they've been at Kroger, they have only been on the shelf, so that's a really big goal they have, is to get off the shelf. So then Robert is like, guys, we've been talking a lot about big goals and ambitions, but I want to hear what the hard numbers are for what you think this is gonna look like. And they say that they think in 2024 they can do about $30 million in sales, and then they want to get to 50 and then 80, and it's puffcorn. That's wild to me. I get the snack market's big and obviously they're doing what they're doing, but $80 million, that makes me think that's just wild to me. I can't comprehend that number mostly. Kevin thinks they'll succeed, but he just says 3.5% isn't exciting for him. He says he won't even get out of bed for that amount, so he's out. Then the moment I was personally waiting for, Barbara talks about Pipcorn. I've always wondered what was going on with them, and we get a little glimpse into it now. She talks about how with Pipcorn, they were constantly needing money to continue growing, which meant constantly getting new investors that diluted Barbara's equity so far down that it just became not really exciting for her. Apparently, they're thinking about selling it, and Barbara says that she really wants them to. Because she doesn't want to be on the same ride that she went on with Pipcorn, she goes out. Robert says that it's great, but he's on Shark Tank to be invested in businesses where he can really add value. Although I thought he just said a minute ago he was in Shark Tank to get a huge return on his investment. Which one is it? On top of that, though, the 3.5% just isn't exciting, so he also goes out. Then Kevin, the entrepreneur, not the shark, accidentally calls Robert Mark, and honestly, first of all, I felt for the man. I have done it before. I even think I have a video somewhere on this channel, I don't remember which one it is, where I said either Mark or Robert out loud. I meant the other one, and I just had to put a caption or text on the screen. I am almost positive that's who I mixed up, and I just didn't catch it before it was too late, so I feel for him. I get the struggle. Out of the struggle, though, we get this beautiful moment, so it all is worth it.
By the way, I'm the tall, good-looking one. Robert Mark's on the other side.
Lori decides she wants to take a flyer on them and offers them $300,000 for 7.5%, but she wants her equity to be non-dilutable, which just shocks all the sharks. Very similar to Barbara's offer from earlier. They're just appalled. The entrepreneurs immediately try countering. They ask her if she would consider making the 7.5% dilutable. Obviously, she's not into that, but she suggests raising the equity and then making it dilutable. She instead counters 10%, but dilutable. The word dilutable just doesn't even feel real anymore. Dilutable? I don't even care anymore. I've said it too many times. I'm moving on. I don't care. They then shoot a very dangerous Hail Mary and try to see if any other shark would be willing to come in with Lori. And even though Mark gave them some grief earlier, he can never resist teaming up the dream team, Mark and Lori, And they end up making a deal with Mark and Lori for $300,000 for 10%, and it is dilutable. Final thoughts. Number one, I probably should have said this at the beginning. Oh well, it's too late now. Kevin says this is the best low-calorie snack that they've had in the Shark Tank in 15 years. I find this shocking, but the man said it. He's been there the 15 years. I haven't. I just was shocked. Another thing that shocked me was the fact that Lori was so cool, or at least played it so cool, that they Hail Mary to have another shark get added into this deal, because I just know her, I've seen her, I've watched her, know her parasocially, and I feel like usually that would be something that would make her immediately drop out. Maybe because it seemed like Mark picked up and came in so quickly, that softened the blow, that made her less, ready to, but incredible, especially since they'd all gone out. Scary, dangerous, even. As far as the product goes, definitely adding it to my list to try. If Kevin says it's the best snack like that he's tasted, I mean, also, I love normal corn puffs. Like, obviously, also, in case you don't know this, I guess, you the viewer, corn puffs is already a snack. Their big thing is just that it doesn't have any artificial stuff, all of that. It's a healthy corn puff, which I think there are also those out there from what I've seen, but there's just more premium and healthy. But if Kevin said it's that good, I at least have to try it once, and it's at Kroger, so it's not like that difficult. So adding it to the list tentatively. And that, my friends, is a wrap on season 15 episode 11 of Shark Tank. As always, I want to hear your thoughts and feelings. Have you seen any of these products? Did you see Poplight on TikTok? Have you tried any of them? Do you want to try any of them? Let me know all that below. Thank you again to Stealth Bros & Co. Use my code SBCMAX20 for 20% off. And until then, I'll see y'all in the next one.